Put your password in. Is it everything set? Okay.
Robert Manson, you could go ahead and get started.
And we want you to know that we are so excited about the Henrico Ministers Conference, giving our young adults an opportunity to speak up and to speak out. Just a little bit about our Henrico Ministers Conference. We provide fellowship for clergy, encouragement, education, and facilitate information designed to help churches and ministries succeed. We also meet human needs in our community to serve as a light of hope for social justice. However, we want you to know that we not only care about each other, but we care about our families, we care about our community, our leaders, our nation, and our world. And we want our young adults to know they have voice and we value each one. Opportunity is the emphasis tonight. The Henrico Ministers Conference and community are so excited to listen to the voices of our millennials as they speak up and speak out. Personal opinions regarding real issues. And rest assured, their opinions are not reflective of the pastors or churches, but it's all about seeing real issues through the hearts and the minds of our young adults and millennials. And so I would like to introduce to you our moderator. Our moderator's name is Justin Botlet.
Good evening, everybody.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Reverend Manson?
So excited. Justin is the youth pastor of New Covenant Community Church in New Kent. He is a native of Henrico County and product of Henrico County Public Schools. He has a master's of education in curriculum and instruction with a gifted endorsement from the University of Richmond. Justin currently serves as a third grade teacher in the Henrico County Public Schools. Justin, take it over.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And we hope that you are ready for some real talk conversations. And we are so excited for this opportunity as young adults from the community to get together and just talk about some things that are going on in our community. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel for tonight. First up, we have Ruby Sykes. Ruby Sykes is a native and product of Henrico County and Henrico County Public Schools. She has a bachelor's of science in interdisciplinary studies and a master of education in elementary education. She is a 5-year educator with Henrico County Public Schools, and she serves as youth director of Rising Mount Zion Baptist Church in New Kent, Virginia. Ruby, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Joshelle Young. Joshelle is a native of Richmond, Virginia, and has served as a counselor for 15 years. She's received her certification as a licensed professional counselor in 2013 and is employed as a juvenile court service unit evaluator with Henrico Area Mental Health and Developmental Services. She is a member of First United Presbyterian Church, where she serves as an elder and chairperson of the Board of Christian Education. Joshelle, thank you for joining us tonight.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Tyrone Nelson Jr. Tyrone is a recent graduate of VCU this past spring. He earned his bachelor's degree in marketing, communications, and analytics. He has earned certification in personal selling from University of Virginia and a certification in financial markets from Yale University. Tyrone took on the role of building his own production company, New Views Productions, to help tell the story of the voiceless and turn visual dreams into realities. Tyrone, we're so glad that you're here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, next up we have Kissimmee Henry. Kissimmee is a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University and has a master's degree in education from the University of Phoenix. Kissimmee is a teacher in Henrico County Public Schools, and she is a leader of 2 small groups at church, a mother, and loves being outdoors. Kissimmee, we're so glad that you're here with us today.
I'm glad to be here with you.
And last but certainly not least, we have Jessica Fisher. Jessica is a graduate of William and Mary as well as VCU. She has a degree in elementary education, psychology, and school counseling. She taught in Henrico County Public Schools for 8 years and is now a school counselor in Henrico. Jessica attends Mount Olive Baptist Church in Glen Allen and is involved in the children, youth, young adult, and bereavement ministry. Jessica, we are so excited that you are here today.
Thank you.
I want to say welcome to all of our panelists for tonight. Before we get started, I would like to reiterate that the views and thoughts of our panelists tonight are of no affiliation or reflection of their church or place of employment. This platform is a safe space for us to have healthy, meaningful discussions with the hope of spreading encouragement and thoughtful views to our community. We do have a set time for our discussion tonight. However, we will accommodate discussions as needed. I will ask each of you a response, but please feel free to chime in with anything. If something sparks a conversation or a thought in your mind, please feel free to chime in at that time, okay?
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and get started. Our first question for tonight, I'll start with a statement. We know that social isolation has been a problem since the start of COVID-19. We are the generation who grew up with smartphones, but talking on the small screen cannot replace human touch. Seeing people and getting together outside socially is vital to our survival. So our first question for today is, how are you balancing the need for social interaction with the rise of COVID-19 across the nation, and more specifically here in Virginia? Ruby, we'll go ahead and start with you tonight.
Well, the balance has been very difficult. It started off really, really hard, especially the beginning of the pandemic and being quarantined, realizing I can't get close to my family and friends like I'm used to, and hanging out and hugging them and embracing them. But we were able to have more time to have real conversations. I realized that I have some real friends in my corner, and we were able to talk and connect about real things we never were able to do when we were face to face. So that topic, was a great connection for us, and we were able to still connect virtually. So,
absolutely. Jessica, we'll go ahead and pass it to you.
Sure. Like Ruby, it was quite a transition at first, but I really wanted to be safe and responsible, but still balance the connection. So I relied a lot, and still do, on technology. I can't even count the number of Zoom calls I've had. Zoom brunches, Zoom dinners, Zoom everything.
Right.
And the young adults in my church, we Zoom each week just to stay connected and touch base and check in on everybody. Just recently, I've started kind of going out and doing a little bit of socially distant, but I'm still very close to home and relying on technology. But it's temporary. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, Joshelle, how are you doing during the quarantine and COVID-19?
It has been really unexpectedly challenging. Okay. I'm a very simple person. I enjoy being out of my home and spending time with friends, and all of that got shut down immediately. Mm-hmm. So it's been an adjustment, but I feel like as time has moved along, I've been able to adjust to it. I know from my family and friends, they also tended to have the same experience. Mm-hmm. So one of the first things I had to do was really accept that this is where I am right now. And this is what I have to deal with. So once I was able to accept it, then I could find solutions, such as the video calls, doing drive-by visits, porch visits, deck visits. So you still aren't able to touch people, but you still are making that connection. And I think that connection is not only just important for your physical health, but also for your mental health.
For your mental, absolutely. Tyrone, how have you been?
I've been all right. towards the beginning of it, it was kind of rough because, you know, you're just used to being around so many people, especially when I was in the middle of about to graduate. So all my senior friends, we was ready to, you know, live it up for the last time before we was going out. But once it hit and you kind of realized that you were stuck in that situation, for me, I kind of, instead of trying to find ways to, you know, connect with other people, I tried to reach into myself and really started to get know myself better. And I did a lot of meditating and mental health practices for myself, trying to prepare myself once for the real world, but also just trying to make myself a better person by each day. And that really helped me move forward during the crisis.
Absolutely. Kissimmee, how have you been during COVID-19 and the quarantine shutdown?
Well, definitely at the beginning, it was hard because, you know, what am I going to do now? And the common theme that I'm hearing everybody say is that connection piece. And I feel that it has affected me in deepening my relationships with my friends, as Ruby was saying as well. I know we're not able to physically connect and talk with people. They're in our natural circle. But being able to connect through Zoom and actually see a face has made it easier to be able to deal. I've also gone out and I like being outdoors. So I've discovered new friends, socially distancing, walking and hiking, and have even started, like with my uncle, we ride our bikes on trails. So that's something that probably wouldn't have happened had I not. And the other thing that I do is I'm part of small groups. And in my church, what I found is that, yeah, we do talk about scripture and sermon and how it relates to us. But what's been the best is that we're able to share our day-to-day struggles and experiences and our lows and our highs with each other. And I've established relationships with folks that are at church that have become closer to me on the same walk. So I appreciate that I've been able to do that. And then when we're able to share with ourselves those burdens that we have that are on our shoulders that we carry individually, when we come to group, because it's a safe space, we can share and disperse those problems amongst the group. And that helps lighten that load for each individual person. So I really appreciate the connection and the strengthening of my relationships through sharing our feelings.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing for me, of course, is the connection that everybody has talked about, and also trying to get used to the new norm of staying in the house and not being able to go out when we please and everything like that. But I guess on the positive side of it too, I think as a teacher, as an educator, back in March, I think all of us can agree it was just a lot going on in March. And I think just the break, just to be still, and granted, I'm a person that likes to be out all the time, but just to have the moment, just to be in the house, just to sit and just to be like, okay, let me breathe. I think that was, on the positive side, I think that was the biggest change for me, because I was ripping and running, going. And it was refreshing just to stop for a moment. So going along with how we were all feeling in COVID-19 in the quarantine, with the expectancy of another surge of COVID-19 in the fall, local school districts have now opted to begin school virtually this year. Let's talk about some of our thoughts and feelings. Most of us are educators on here. What are your thoughts and feelings about this choice? And I could go ahead and start with this one. It's kind of twofold. I think that the districts made a good decision of keeping the kids at home, because for me, safety is always of utmost importance for not only the students, but for me, for my coworkers, for the families. And we all know that kids do come to school sick with the flu or cold or whatever the case is. So coming to school with the pandemic, it heightens everything. So I think on that side of it, it was very smart for the school districts to go ahead and make that decision. However, I think it's a huge change as far as the way that education is going. So we're now seeing a shift in how education is now going to look for future generations. So trying to figure out how to do small group reading on the computer, figuring out how to do math stations on the computer, or not being able to see and greet your students in person every day is going to be a huge change. You look at the mental and the emotional piece of going to school. So looking at both sides, I'm happy for the safety, but it also is going to be a huge adjustment for me because I just love my kids. I love my school. I love working with the youth and trying to figure out different ways. So this is going to be a huge adjustment for me. Tyrone, what do you think? How do you feel about them going all virtual, especially at the elementary and secondary level?
Yeah, I was looking at it, and I kind of side with you. It's safer, but it's going to be a huge change for the kids, but not only the kids, but the adults. But with the safety, I'm really glad that the counties and the school districts are taking the approach that they are, because this is something that nobody is ever going to forget. So the way that they treat the kids in this situation and put in their health and safety first is going to speak volumes past the moment that we're in. So I'm really glad that they're going with that approach. But like you said, it's just really, I mean, with anything and everything pretty much with this pandemic, it's a huge change and shift on how people react to certain situations, because it's something that nobody has gone through in our country, but just in the world. For us all to be going through it together, it's rough. So I think that the school systems made a good choice of, making everything virtual for the safety. Now I think it's just time for everybody to come together as people so we can understand the small nuances that every child is going to face, just like in school, but now it's going to be at home, and how to deal with those.
Joshelle, how do you feel?
I agree with you all both. I think virtual is the best decision for not only the students, but for the teachers, because being a daughter of an educator, I would be so fearful for my parent to have to go back to school. I know that I'm kind of a bottom line person. Okay. So my bottom line question is the risk worth the reward? So when you look at it, of course, the perfect situation would be in person, meeting with your teacher, talking with your friends, growing in your interpersonal relationships as well as academically. But where we are right now, I just don't feel like that's possible.
Right.
So I think it's really, right now, I think it's really important that safety be first. So, I look at adults and, bless our hearts, we try the best we can. We have to keep our hands off of our face. We got to keep our mask on. We're wearing gloves. We're trying to be sanitary. And it's just, when you think about that in regards to kids, that's a heavy load. So right now I do virtual.
Absolutely. Jessica, we'll pass it to you.
Yeah, so I will echo what you guys have said. While I 100% believe beginning virtually is the best, I am sensitive to the hardship it puts on families, especially, single parent homes, those parents who are essential workers. And so I know that this is not an easy situation for anyone. And I know that it leaves parents trying to scramble and make some things work. And then, of course, our kids learn best, especially our elementary kids, in school, for that interpersonal, that connection. But if anybody's ever been in an elementary school, then, like as the school counselor, I get 50 hugs by 8:30. So
absolutely.
So it's just, I don't think, and plus with this virus, we don't know so much, and our kids have not been together since March, and so we can't say with bringing. In my school, we have 600 kids, and then you put 100 adults on that, and so I'm with you, Giselle. I think that we have to. The bottom line, the risk is too great, but I do feel for parents who are struggling right now to fill that void.
Absolutely. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit, still on the same question, but Ruby and Kissimmee, what ways do you think that the church's role is going to help our students in the community during this new style of learning? Ruby, we can go ahead and start with you.
Well, I think even through the midst of this all, the churches now have an opportunity to do something that a lot of us have not done. We are actually going to start being the educators to our youth. And it's something else we have to adjust to our new norm. So our new norm is our church being one of our educational facilities. So now we might have ministers, deacons, youth directors, ushers, people of the motherboard coming in and educating our youth. The church now has to be a spot that has Wi-Fi available, that has someone there from 2:30 to 8 p.m. to help our youth out. We have to. That's our responsibility. We can't just let them, rely on themselves. Some parents and households are not equipped to educate our youth. So it's our responsibility. We can't reach our youth and really minister like we're supposed to do, like we're called to do, if we don't start at the church. So we go there every day to make sure you get your homework done on this iPad. That's what we have to do. We have to find a hot spot in our churches. That's what we have to do. Now is our time to make sure we educate our youth. I think God has blessed us with this. That our churches are now an educational facility, and we can make sure our youth grow in our own church. So I'm excited about that part. It's going to be challenging and difficult, but together we can do it together. And you can't feel like just because you don't have any teachers in your church or any educators in your church that you can't do it. No. Like, we can teach you how to do math and teach you how to read and point to each word and teach you your ABCs and make sure you all going and take that quiz. So all of the members of the church can help out. So I'm excited to see what the churches will do in the whole state to help all of our youth.
Okay. Kissimmee, how about you?
I'm on board with Ruby. I agree. I believe that there are tutors and educational coaches to be found in the church. They're all around. And Ruby was saying that this is an opportunity. And so I'm going with that opportunity for those people who maybe before thought, I don't have a place. I don't have a talent or a skill or something that I can give to the church. I can't be that usher. I don't want to be on the deacon board. Or I don't want to do this. Or I just don't have anything to give. Yeah, you do. Those folks who are out there, there's someone who's motivated and someone who can be compelled to give the skills, their technical skills, their technical ability.
Absolutely.
To teach that young person, to help them with their arithmetic, help them with the reading, help them with the history that we have not had. Talk to our young folks. You have what we need, and we need you to come up. So that is a service. It may be something that you didn't consider before, but now, yes, that is your gift. That's your way to serve within the church. Bring it on down. We need you. And I think it's important to find those people, and we put an all call out for those people because they're going to have that capability. And I'll add this, the not so young people who maybe at the beginning of this were like, I don't want to do the whole technical thing because it's been a long time. Maybe now they're considering ways to connect. If you've got someone who has the patience and the ability to teach someone who's older how to use the technical things that we have today, that'll help them to make their connections now too. So there's different kind of students, young students and old students, that we can all be helpful to.
Absolutely. So switching gears again, we're going to take our focus now from the schools and COVID-19 to some more, well, all of it is serious, but we are definitely going to talk about some more serious things. Experiencing the death of George Floyd on national TV with a knee on his neck, and deaths of others like Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, has definitely impacted my life, and I know that it has impacted yours. More young adults are protesting now more than ever that we've seen in our lifetime. They're taking a stand against letting their voices be heard regarding police brutalities, social justice iniquities in schools, education, health, criminal justice system, job locations and housing, and also prejudice and racism. So the question that I pose to you all tonight is, what do you believe is one solution to the social unrest in our country? And panel members, you can choose any area that you feel that you want to talk about or suggest a strategy or solution. And Jochelle, we'll go ahead and pass it to you first.
Okay. I have so many thoughts about this. First of all, I want to say I'm really proud of everybody who went out there and protested and stood up and said this is wrong. I feel like I've seen things like this my entire life. So it's interesting that during this time of the pandemic, this is the sore that really burst during this time. And I think it really brought attention to not only what goes on with the police, what has historically gone on with police, but also what goes on in our daily world, what goes on, if this racism is systemic and it's really kind of everywhere. So, you know, I think some of the most important things are, one, for us to talk about what the problems are, for people to be willing to listen, for those concerns to be validated, and for there to be action. I still think it goes a little further than that, because if we talk about police brutality, we've seen people that have gotten arrested, but when they've gotten arrested, they haven't gotten convicted.
They haven't gotten convicted, absolutely.
So then I feel like that our concerns and what our plight is and the ideas that we have about racism still aren't really being heard. So I know this may sound like a basic request, but one of the things I would like to see is for Black people to stop dying at the hands of the police.
Absolutely. And I think, just to piggyback from what you said, I think the biggest thing is that at the very beginning of all the social unrest that was going on, we're all in. And the biggest thing I feel for us to solution is that we can't lose our momentum. So we can paint a street, we can wear it on our t-shirt, we can fly a flag, we can do all of those things. But we have to be able to have these conversations, and we cannot lose the momentum. We've made some great changes in the past 3 months, just from the little protests, or not, I'm not gonna say little, but on the grand scheme of things, just those 3 months of time, when you look at the protests and the things that have changed during that time, you know, we have still a long ways to go. And so I don't want anybody, whether you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, whoever, I don't want us to lose the sight of, we still have to fix the system. The system was built broken. It is still broken. And so it's our job, our generation, to keep that momentum and keep protesting, to keep talking and keep calling things as they are. Because a lot of times we get scared and kind of just brush it under the rug. But I think now it's like, okay, we even though we got to have a mask on during COVID, but it's mask off time. You know, we got to stop being scared and really speak up and speak out on what's going on, and just calling things as though they are. You know, if it's wrong, it's wrong. You can't worry about other people's opinion.
And I would also like to add, just briefly, I do tend to be a girl that wants it all. So I do want to see the statues come down. I want the laws to change. I want the financial kind of prejudice that we see. I want that to stop. I want everything to stop. And I know that's a big request, but that's what I would like to see.
Absolutely. Jessica, what are your thoughts? How are you feeling about everything that's going on?
Yeah, I echo those. I don't know that I have the solution or a solution, but I will say I've had a lot of friends, particularly those who aren't people of color, who have asked that question, what can I do? And to them, I say where we start is just speaking up. And I think their voices are just as important as ours, if not more, because I think for so long, their silence has been construed or taken as support for those who support, social injustice and police brutality. And so I think that's a good start. And I had a conversation with a friend just yesterday who I told that 2 weeks ago when she asked, and she came back and told me she was in a conversation with a bunch of people and they were talking about how they didn't understand why the statues needed to come down. And she took a deep breath and she spoke up and said, they represent X, Y, and Z for so many people. And so, she may not have changed their mind, but what she did do is let them know how she feels. And I believe plant some seeds of hopefully growth and reflection. And so that's where I say to start by just speaking up, because I do believe there's more love than hate. And I feel like we see the hate more. So that's where we start. And of course, we need to vote. We say that all the time, but we need to vote for like-minded people who can put laws in place and training for police officers, so where we start, in my opinion.
Ruby, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, just like everyone else, I am and have been extremely angry. The feelings you can't even express, the anger, but something we can do for change. I do believe that we need to start having real conversations. I know social media is big. We blacked out our profile pages and we got Black Lives Matter and I'm standing arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. But can we have these real conversations with our kids? Do they know why the Robert E. Lee statue needs to go down? Do they know that? Because as a kindergarten teacher in our social studies curriculum, there's nothing about that. They just say, oh, talk about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and do that in February and keep it moving. But are we having those real conversations with our youth? Are we telling them as the church and as educators and as people of the community, are we really telling our youth, this is what you need to do when the police pull you over? This is how you have to walk and watch your back. Are we really telling them that you need to not go here? You not need to trust everybody. Are we having those real conversations? I think that is the root of where we need to start because, like you said, these trends are dying down, unfortunately. The protests are dying, unfortunately. But what are we talking about in our household? What is the church saying to our youth? I know God is going to make a way, but I'm still Black. I'm still walking around and scared. I'm scared for my daddy. I'm scared for my brother-in-laws, for my nephews. For my fiance, I'm scared to death when I see a police drive beside me. Yeah. And I live in Hanover County, so I'm really terrified. Yeah. These are real conversations I got to face every day, and we are the ones that have to do that. They shouldn't see this on Instagram and Facebook and feel like black out my profile page, it'll make things better. We need to have a conversation so they realize I have to fight for my life and for the future generations behind me. So I think those real conversations that start right now will make a bigger and better change and have more knowledge within our youth. So they understand.
And those conversations need to continue, you know.
They have to continue. And it's more of us being uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable, taking the risk and having those conversations. Because a lot of times when picking back at what Ruby said about the curriculum, there's so much that we can teach. And it shouldn't just be in February. You know, we may start our Black History Project in January so that we can present it at the PTA meeting in February. However, this needs to be Black 365. We need to be able to talk. We need to be able to teach our younger generation who these people are so that way they can be informed. And then for the older generation, it's all about education. So Jessica, kind of piggyback off of what you said, you know, even people that are not Black, they just need to educate themselves, and I think that's where it starts too. A lot of times it's based off of well, Mama and Daddy said this, and Uncle and Auntie did this, instead of actually taking the time to say, well, this happened at this time, and this was the effect. So I think educating ourselves and taking risks is definitely a good start. Tyrone, what was your input on this?
I'm 19 now, and I think I've seen the first time I saw a Black man killed on national television was Trayvon Martin, and I was 11. And every year since then, I've seen multiple Black men be slaughtered on national television. And it's just something that the first time I saw it, I was confused. The more I learned about it, I was angry. And the more you indulge in it, not only because you're a citizen, but me being a Black man, you almost become numb to the situation that you're in because you feel hopeless. And seeing that, it's frustrating. And out of all of the solutions you guys gave were great. But one thing that I wanted to contribute to that was I feel like we need to hit these corporations that we're spending our money with in the pockets. Being mindful of where we're spending our dollar. Everybody has it, and we don't want to fund the same system that oppresses us. The Chick-fil-A's, even though it might be hard, or the Bojangles that are not even conservative about putting it out that they don't want to fund us or support us at all. Right. We need to be taking back our dollar from those corporations because there's no reason as Black people we should be supporting the same systems that systemically oppress us in time to time, that they've done it all the way back when they started to now, even when it's not even acceptable. they continue to do it. So I feel like that, and just consistency, not just doing it on one day, not just doing it on a Friday or Saturday, not doing it on the blackout days, but every day going forward, being mindful of how you carry yourself and where you spend your money. That's what I wanted to, that's how I feel like we should move
Great
forward
points.
with that.
Great points. All right, Kissimmee, how are you feeling? What's your thoughts? So what's your feelings of everything?
So just in offering a possible solution of where to start, everyone talks about dialogue, and that's where I'm agreeing. That's where I'm coming in and saying dialogue is what we need. We need to talk. And then also self-examination and self-reflection, which for most of us as educators, that's what we have to do with our lessons and all.
Absolutely.
But not everybody understands what it means to reflect or to examine oneself. And so I think that in schools, especially if we're in regards to like social justice and inequality in schools, if we can begin to have a discourse or like a discussion about inequality and what it looks like in schools, I think that's a start. I think that's a starting place, because I think that there may be some talk in some schools, but it's definitely not happening at every school and definitely not on every level.
Right.
And there may be teachers and administrators who believe they're fair, and they believe that none of that happens at my school, and they believe that there maybe are no biases, but that's not a fair statement. That's not true. We all have innate biases. So I would say, how could you say, can you explain, what it looks like, so that you can say that it hasn't happened at your school, if that makes sense.
Right.
Okay, so I think there need to be forums for teachers of all colors, where people feel free to ask questions. And I know that people need to educate themselves, but sometimes people do want to ask questions, but they're scared to ask questions.
Scared. Absolutely.
And so they need forums where they can share their thoughts without fear of retribution or recrimination. And so, in addition to that, there just needs to be a hard look at self, everyone, Black, white, and other, to see, to come to honest conclusions about how you think about people and how you feel about people and situations that we come into. So it's all about dialogue and self-examination. That's what
Absolutely. Great points, everybody. Great points. So many of our young adults and millennials, we do not attend church. I personally do attend church. Physically attending church, meaning going into the church house, the church building, because it's an outlet for me in my day-to-day routine. And it's just a way for me to express myself spiritually and just kind of disconnect from everything that's been going on around me. But for others in our generation, the opportunity for young people to attend virtual church is readily available 24/7, whether it's via Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, live stream, whatever other form of streaming that they can get to, they prefer to go to the digital church. So as a millennial, what are some things that, especially now that most churches have gone virtual during COVID-19, what are some things that you are looking for or that you enjoy in a virtual worship service that can hold your attention for at least 30 minutes? Jessica, we go ahead and pass it to you first.
Sure. Well, I'm like you. I enjoy being there for the worship experience. So that obviously has been challenging and one of the most challenging parts for me. But whether I'm in person or virtual, I am looking for to start off like just a good, powerful praise and worship experience. Absolutely. Because I'm a worshiper. I just love that time. It's not about the musicians or, it's just about all of us coming together and kind of that corporate worship. That's where it starts for me. And then also I'm looking for a powerful word that's relevant and kind of multi-generational. Because I do go to church with my mom and my grandma. So that's important that we can all kind of get something. And I will say the one positive to all of these virtual churches right now is that I can hit my church at 10 and then I can hit another one at 11. So I'm kind of when the church is right now.
All right, Ruby, we'll go to you.
Yeah, well, I first want to commend everyone that started the virtual service because this was not easy and we had to do it. But we did it. And so I am so proud of all of the churches, especially shout out to my church, Rise Mount Zion Baptist Church in Newton, because we did it. So we actually did this whole virtual service. So I'm sorry, I just want to shout y'all out. But what I'm looking for in a quick virtual service is real talk. You know, I want to hear about coronavirus, but I also want to hear about Jesus coming back. I need to hear all of it because now you have to pay attention. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes you're in church, I'm thinking about what I'm gonna cook for dinner, what I gotta do for lesson plans.
Right.
But now I am sitting on my phone and I'm listening, and I need to hear my pastor or whoever's preaching or teaching tell me, "Yep, God need to forgive you for your sins. You need to do this. Coronavirus going around. You need to get your life together, and also stay faithful. Keep up the faith." I need to hear all of that. I need to hear everything that I've been hearing before Corona. I still need to hear now. So that's what I'm looking for. And like you all said, a good worship experience is always there. Every service does not have to be the same. It doesn't have to look like the same bulletin and program we're used to. If God can show us some singing for 30 minutes, I'm going to listen to it and break out shouting in my house. But whatever, you know, just reach out the same way we've been doing. And I'm just very, very proud of how our churches have been reaching us in our own homes because that was a big step. But now we have done it, let's keep it going and keep the momentum up.
And I think you brought up a good point. You know, we want to hear what's going on currently. We want to know, we want to know about COVID. We want to know about the social injustices, but finding that balance. So as a youth pastor, I always preach first Sundays for Youth Sunday. And so I always try to figure out a way that I can reach the youth, reach the adults, but also bring all of us together because of everything that's going on. So some things that I'm preaching to the youth about, the adults are texting and calling after service. You don't know how much that blessed me. I needed that word too. And so I know during this time it's difficult because you don't want to lose anybody's attention. So I know at New Covenant, we started off doing 15 minutes tops as a service. So we would welcome everybody, do the message, say a prayer, and then we go on about our day. So we're on at 10 and then we're off at 10:15. But as it gradually went on, people were asking, we need praise and worship. We need, I want to feel like I'm at church. So we had to shift. And so, of course, we're all living in a shift right now. So being mindful and staying tuned to the shifting and the different changes that's going on in our community is very, very crucial to the church, because some churches, we don't know what's going to happen from the effects of COVID, because we have shut down. We're not in church. People are not giving. They're not showing up. They're not attending online church. So we have to be very mindful of what we do and how we connect everybody. But I guess the biggest thing for me is just making sure that we make it as comfortable as possible to worship inside of your home, whether you're in your car, you're at the grocery store, you're at home. I can turn on my Facebook with my headphones on in the grocery store and I can get a word and praise and worship, So I think it's just making sure we stay tuned to the shift. Tyrone, what about you? How do you feel about the virtual worship service as a millennial?
I think that, I'm proud of all of the churches that are moving forward in a virtual worship service. I personally help my church with all of that, the recording, the posting, the editing, making sure all of the little things are in order so that the viewer can get a great product at the end. I think what I would be looking for when me and my friends were talking is just churches just stepping on that limit, trying to actually do the virtual worship service, and then learning the little nuances like StreamYard, like OBS or YouTube or Facebook, just so they can get the word out. It means a lot, not only to watch it, but just know in the back of your head that your church is trying their best to put forward a great product. So that's kind of how I feel in a nutshell about all of it.
Okay, Kissimmee, we'll pass it to you.
So, I may be, I'll just say, I need to hear words to give me hope and to give me a purpose. And so that kind of sounds like the preachers from the civil rights movement, as in they're out front and leading the cause.
Okay.
And that's kind of what would like to see. But I think that there's so much that assaults us as we go about our daily lives that causes us to hurt. And so if we have our president, the economy, the COVID, the police brutality, and then no vacation.
Right.
So,
No escape.
when it's hurt like that, we become angry and bitter, or, on the opposite end of that, you can become sad and depressed. So I want themes and stories that can help me connect the biblical struggles to those of the civil rights and to today, so that I can see myself in that as that overcomer. And so that, help me see that it's a long haul process. It's not going to be, overnight. And we have proof of this from what we learned from the Bible. And we have proof of this, that it hasn't happened since the civil rights, but here's you today, and this is what you can do. So messages that help me see myself as an overcomer in that struggle, hope and a purpose.
Okay. Joshelle, how are you feeling about virtual worship services?
I think for me, it's been a good experience. I guess I should give full disclosure. I guess I'm technically more Generation X. Millennial.
Take the millennial.
Okay. But I do want to piggyback on what Kissimmee stated. What I really need to hear a word that speaks to where I am right now.
Okay.
And to me, that just says engagement. So if you can talk to me about where we are, what we're doing, and how there is hope for the future, you got it. Because if you tie that in with the word, I'm listening.
We're good, right?
So I just think it's that engagement is very important. I also like good music as well.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing too. The music is definitely, it captures you.
Yeah.
So bringing everything back full circle, with everything going on with COVID-19, with the social injustices, the schools reopening, everything that we talked about today, I want to leave our viewers with some words of encouragement. Okay. And I think the biggest thing is that for me, if I had to encourage or drop some nuggets of wisdom to everybody, is that this is not the end. Our story is not finished. We are still writing our story every day. I think the biggest thing is that we have to find ways to stay hopeful. We have to find ways to stay strong, whether it's calling our friends, calling on family members, picking up a new hobby, things that are getting us excited, because we are living in a new time. This is a new time for all of us. And I think the biggest thing is that sometimes we live in fear, and we let fear overtake everything that we do. But we know that faith is bigger than fear. Faith always overcomes fear. And we just have to get in the mindset of faith is going to take me to where it is. So whatever that looks like for you, I just want to leave you with knowing that your faith is always going to be stronger. It's always going to be bigger than fear. And do not let fear run your life. We can go ahead and pass it to Kissimmee. Do you have a word of encouragement for our viewers tonight?
I want to encourage everybody, try to find a group that you feel safe enough to talk about your fears and your concerns. We have to take care of our mental and our emotional health. And I think that that's essential for you to do that. I would also say try not to listen to the news too much. Yeah. To tidbit in and then turn it off, else you become, what the news is, and that's fearful. And then there's a lot of stress, and there's a lot of things that we can't control. So I would focus on fixing and taking care of those things that you can manage, that you have control over. Because there's so much external that we cannot control. Right. And those are a lot of things that we tend to hold and worry about. And worry does not do anything to help us. So what I would say is try to give it to God. If that's something that's hard for you, well, consider this the season to try something different
Yeah.
One thing to God, and then don't think about it anymore. At least try.
Just try. That's all we ask, just to try. Tyrone, do you have a word of encouragement for our viewers tonight?
Yeah, if I were to say something, I would probably say something along the lines of just keep your head up. These are unprecedented times for everyone. Nobody has gone through this situation.
Right.
So the feelings that you're feeling, know that they're there and know that they're valid and address them. Confide in somebody that you trust and that you know will be able to listen and offer you advice. Take care of your mental health. It's probably one of the most important things you can do. Not just in this time, but in life and period. I mean, you have one mind, and I feel like you should take care of that, because if everything else shuts down on your body, you have that's left.
Right.
So I would definitely say keep your head up, and just know that your feelings that are inside of you, that they're valid. Because I know you watch the news too much, you surround yourself with a certain group of people, and then you start to feel a certain way about yourself.
Right.
Try not to look at other people and compare yourself. I mean, I try to say that comparison is a thief of joy, because then you lose the joys of yourself and knowing what you bring to the table. So everybody, if you're watching this, just keep your head up, know your feelings are valid, and just take care of yourself in these times, because nobody else been through it. So everybody that's watching this, just please take care of yourself and try to move forward in the best way you can.
Yep. All right, Jessica, and then we'll pass it to Joselle, and Ruby will end with you.
I would say exactly what God told me when everything was shutting down in the beginning. He told me not to waste time. And so I get that this time has been frustrating. It's been sad. It's been inconvenient, but it can still be productive. So I encourage you, spend some time with God, spend some time pouring into yourself, loving on yourself. Maybe there's something on your to-do list you can finally check off. Maybe there's a relationship that needs mending that you can work on. Maybe professionally, there's something you can work on, but don't waste this time. And remember, God is so much bigger than this pandemic, and you are so much stronger than everything going on around us. So I hear you, I see you, I feel you, but you got to keep going. It can still be productive.
Amen.
Yes, I would also piggyback on that and say, you got to hold on and stay strong, because one of the things I've been taught from my parents is that nothing stays the same forever. So there is an end to this. One of the things I am grateful for is that this is an opportunity for me to do a daily faith walk with the Lord. I put my hand in his and I just keep moving forward. And I think we ultimately, no matter what, we always have to remember who is in control, and he is in control. And we have to have faith in him, knowing that he will be with us through this storm, and there will be an end to it. So I would just encourage people to get in your word, get in some meditation, get in some daily inspirational Bible reading. And I do thank God for this opportunity, because it gives me only what you do for Christ is what lasts. So,
Absolutely. Amen.
So I think this is time for me to grow in the Lord.
Good. And Ruby, you close us up for tonight.
Yeah, I'm just picking back and taking in what everyone said, and I agree. What I'm going to leave you with is your 2020 is not canceled. I see a lot of everyone posting that by 2020, take me to 2021. And I agree that your 2020 is not canceled. Don't rush this time. I know it's frustrating. I know you're upset. I know you're depressed. I know you're trying to figure everything out. But don't rush this time. God has us here for a reason. We are survivors. We are making history right now. So keep going. Your 2020 is not canceled. We don't know what's God going to do for the rest of these months of the year.
Right.
In this, I know it sucks. I know it hurts. I know it's confusing. I know it's scary, but stay in it, because God is going to break through. He's going to come and bless us, but you have to stay in it. Your 2020 is not canceled. So don't cancel it. Don't rush to 2021. God is doing something right now, and you have to be in this season. If you're not in this season, you're going to miss it. So you might as well start 2020 and ride it out. But I'm going to encourage you all and pray for you all as we get through this together.
Amen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this will conclude our panel discussion for tonight. We appreciate you all joining us in for this discussion. I have thoroughly enjoyed being your moderator for tonight, and engaging in this conversation. Our panel has done an amazing job tonight. So big ups to you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to have this conversation with us, and sharing your thoughts and your opinions of current events with our community. And before we sign off, I just want to let you guys know that this is just one part of what is to come. It's time to take action. We can talk all day long until we're blue in the face, but we have to take action. Don't let it stop here tonight. Don't let it stop with a Facebook post or a t-shirt. We have to go out into our community and take action for what's going on. So now I'm going to turn it back over to the president of the Henrico Ministers Conference, Reverend Zenora Manson.
A phenomenal job, Justin.
Thank you.
Ruby, Kissimmee, Tyrone, Joshelle, and Jessica. You have touched us, you have blessed us, and inspired us. It takes a village, and we're all in this together. We're talking about real conversations, real issues, right now strategies. What an awesome way to start healthy dialogue in our communities, schools, and churches. Facebook, family, and friends, meet us for the real issues, right now strategies, August 18th, where we will have several pastors, who will be sharing preparation for reopening, the new normal. These are the challenging times that try our souls, but rest assured, you have a hope and a future. For Jeremiah proclaimed, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans for good and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." Be encouraged to hang in there. Trouble don't last always, for it will get better, because our hope is anchored in the Lord. Have a wonderful and blessed evening.